Welcome to Relate Higher, a podcast dedicated to providing the leading standard in conscious higher relating and to teaching you a conscious framework for all of your relationships. This is your go-to resource for developing meaningful, conscious relationships across your life. I'm your host, award-winning relationship coach and consultant and former family lawyer, Letitia Ringe. I'm so glad you're here. Welcome everyone back to the podcast. I'm your host Letitia Ringe, and today I'm recording this episode for you all from London. That's right, I'm back in my happy place in London, my soul's home. I arrived back here on the weekend and I have been battling some serious jet lag, but now today is my first official day where I feel like I'm finally back on the time zone. So I have spent the past 7 months in the Sunshine Coast of Australia, which I have to say is probably one of the most beautiful places on earth. And I spent 7 months, which was a lot longer than intended because it was actually the end of my grandfather's life. And also I didn't know it at the time, but it was also the end of one of our family's beloved cat. Her name is Meadow. You've probably seen me share lots of footage of Meadow. She's the black cat with the big amber eyes over on Instagram on my stories because I love to share cat videos of all my time with these beautiful, precious cats that our family have. And unfortunately, she suddenly passed away just a couple of weeks after my grandfather passed away. So I was really incredibly grateful to have been able to spend final days with not only my grandfather, but also beautiful Meadow. And I'm so glad that I got to have my family with me because we had some of the most special conversations and just times being by each other's side as we navigated those transitions. And then it was time for me to return to London. So I'm back here. I'm here to spend a lot of time dancing because, as you probably have heard me talk about, my passion is dancing. That is what I do in my spare time. I spend a lot of time trying different kinds of dance and also enjoying the dance styles that I really, really love. So I'll be doing a lot of dancing while I'm here. I'll also be opening myself up to entering into relationship again. I'll begin dating while I'm here in London, which is something I've spent this entire year not dating because I've wanted to be consciously single and take some time to be outside of relationship after spending 95%, probably more than that, of my adult life in relationship. And I've been talking to some of my friends and some of my clients about this, that actually I feel like I've learned so many things about romantic relationships and how we thrive by being outside of a romantic relationship. I've obviously learned so much from being in romantic relationships, the shorter ones as well as my long-term romantic relationships, which is incredibly valuable, as well as my work as a family lawyer and in coaching, and all of that, of course, is really, really valuable. But I got to have a chapter that I hadn't experienced before where I was outside of a romantic relationship for an extended period of time and really analyzing the subject. And so I've learned a lot, and I think it's really enabled me to take my work and my support for you all to an even deeper level. So as I move back into dating again, I'm excited to be sharing with you about that process and some of the ways I'm approaching that process, my mindset, the way I look at it, because it's very different to the conversations I have with friends, obviously conversations I have with my clients. And I want you all to be in on how you can approach dating and how it can be an enjoyable experience and just little shifts that you might not be aware of making, because a lot of the conversations we have with people is as if dating is something to be avoided, when it can actually be a really beautiful connecting experience to yourself as well as to other people even who you don't enter romantic partnership with. So I really, really love to share about that process with you all, and you can expect me to be doing that probably here on the podcast, definitely on email, and maybe behind the scenes over on Instagram stories. We'll see how it all ends up flowing. So yes, while I'm here, I'm also going to be connecting with a lot of my different coaching communities, catching up with people who I get to see while I'm here in London from all over the world, because that's one of the things I love about London. So many people pass through it. This week, I'm seeing one of my beautiful clients who I worked with for a number of years on her business, and I'll be meeting her for the first time in person, which will be so awesome. I have a retreat coming up to do with one of my certifications. I have a mastermind coming up to do with another of my certifications. So I'll be meeting lots of people here, and then obviously connecting with my community. I was sharing with some new friends I've made here that my most established community is here in London, because it's been a place that I've lived for a long time and returned to each year ever since living there. So it really feels like home to me, and it's where I really built my community once I figured out like what I wanted to do with my life and who I really am as a person. So it always feels like home here, and I'm grateful to be living in an area that I've lived before and I just love with all of my heart. Those of you who have followed me for a long time, you might remember there's a canal that I really love in London, where I used to go for long walks and runs, and I just really enjoyed doing that by a body of water. And now I'm back in that same area, so I get to walk along that canal every day if I want to, and it's just been so incredibly fun. And after doing most of our podcast episodes as video episodes for 2024, I think you'll find moving forward, including today's episode, that we'll be shifting to audio only. And this is just because of where I'm living now in London. It's easier for me to be able to show up and share these podcast episodes for you all, just doing audio only, which has its own benefits, because when I do audio only episodes, I tend to share a little bit more about what's happening in my life. So I think that moving forward, you'll probably hear more from me about that. And yeah, you'll be enjoying audio only episodes. However, I'll still, as always, be sharing these episodes also on YouTube, because there are so many of you who just love listening on YouTube rather than on all of the different podcast apps. Okay, so that is my update. Let's talk about what we're going to talk about in today's episode. So right now, you've probably heard, if you receive my emails or you listen to my last couple of podcast episodes, I've created a new program for you all called The Conscious Relationship. And The Conscious Relationship is a 6-week program. It's taught as a course, and it's a very practical course where you're learning skills, practices, and 2 processes to practice conscious relationship, to create true love, and to thrive in romantic partnership with your partner. Now, this is for you if you're in a romantic relationship right now. It's also for you if you're not in a romantic relationship right now, but you want to be in one in the future. And the reason is this: most of us really struggle to be in romantic relationship in a way that truly allows both ourselves and our partner to thrive in romantic relationship over the long term. Most people expect that they will thrive, and then the longer they're with their partner, they will thrive less. But what I want everybody to be aware of is when you set yourself up with the right skills, a process to actually hold you and support your relationship, it enables you and your partner to keep coming together and learning more about how to have a thriving relationship, what you both need in order to do that, and how to really deepen your connection with each other over time, rather than what we tend to do, which is we start off on an oxytocin high, as I explained in our last episode. That's where we have a lot of connection, but it's more on a superficial level with a lot of hormones around it. And then once we commit to each other, we just don't do any conscious work to actually nurture that connection, to deepen it, to get to know each other, to understand what we truly want and need, and what our unique version of a romantic relationship looks like. Instead, we approach approach that unconsciously. We just hope it will all work out. We go with the flow and it works for a little bit, but then inevitably over time it doesn't. And then we think something's wrong with either ourselves or our partner or the relationship because it's not working anymore. And it's just because we haven't supported it and given it what it needs to thrive. So what I wanted to do as I stepped into my last romantic relationship, I really wanted to create a process for myself first so that I could set my partner and myself up with everything we needed to have a thriving relationship and not need to think about it, so that we can work with our humanity and our minds and how they love to step into being unconscious, because we can't always be conscious about what we're doing. That would be incredibly tiring for our brains. And so I knew that we needed to have supportive processes that we could lean on, that we could learn and build habits around that would actually have us showing up consciously without constantly, consciously needing to be checking in and making those decisions. So that's what I created for myself first. And it really set me up in my romantic relationship, the last one I had, to go so deep with my partner in just a short period of time and to have more clarity on our future and the relationship we were creating and what I wanted and needed in order to thrive in romantic partnership together. And this process was so incredibly successful for myself personally that I knew I wanted to share that with everybody else so that you can all benefit from this process too, because it truly was and is life-changing. It's a process I will use in any romantic relationship I'm ever in the future. And it's one that I share with my clients, I share with my friends and family when we're having conversations about relationships. And it's really seen significant shifts across every single person's life who's been using it. So I've now created a course to teach you that process so that you're able to have it too. And this course has been done in a really practical way so that you're actually working your way through a 6-week process to set your relationship up so that you know what your vision is for your relationship, what your needs and desires are, and how to actually thrive in relationship together. And then you're moving yourself through a very specific process that will become a regular on repeat monthly process that you're implementing in your relationship. And it's done in a very intentional way to touch on all of the skills and the areas that you need to pay attention to in a relationship so that it doesn't fall apart and so that you continue to thrive in romantic partnership together. And this is a really helpful process for long-term romantic relationships, which personally is what I'm most interested in and where I have the most experience. However, it also is really helpful for you just in general in romantic relationships, because when you know what you need to thrive in one relationship, it sets you up to have that information for any other relationship you're in the future. And because we're human and we're always changing and growing and evolving, what you needed in the past in a romantic relationship may not be the same as today. But when you're constantly taking yourself the process that you'll learn in the conscious relationship, it means that you have the most up-to-date information about what you need to thrive from your very last romantic relationship, which enables you to go into a new relationship with that more recent information, and then obviously doing the work to check in with yourself and find out what you need to thrive in this romantic relationship, and with the tools that you've already practiced so it's second nature to you and you're able to go deeper. So what I love about this process is that not only do you learn how to step into conscious relationship with a partner, you also learn the monthly process, and then you'll be able to repeat that process for the rest of your relationship. And that's how it's designed. So you'll spend the first 6 weeks getting familiar with the process, but then you'll be using it on repeat, which enables you to go deeper into practicing the skills that are needed for a thriving partnership. And then you also learn how to navigate conflict, how to meet triggers, and you'll have tools to use whenever those come up throughout your relationship. And as you probably know by now, conflict and triggers happen spontaneously, right? So we can't necessarily prepare for them, although the process will help with that as well. But whenever you're feeling, okay, I'm triggered or we're dealing with conflict, you'll also have tools that you can just draw upon whenever that happens throughout your relationship too. So I'm so excited to be able to share the conscious relationship with you all. It's something that I have intended to create for you all for over a year, and it's been a really big amount of work for me to get this out there for you. So enrollment is closing on the 6th of September. My intention at this stage is that it will be opened up once a year. So if you miss out on this first enrollment into the conscious relationship, I intend to open it back up for enrollment in a year's time. And every time we open up the conscious relationship, if you're already a student, you'll have access to any future updates and you have lifetime access to the program. So you can continue to use it throughout your romantic relationships now and in the future. Okay, so that's the conscious relationship. You can find all the information at letitiaringe.com/the conscious relationship. And in today's episode, what I'm going to be doing is sharing with you some little clips from the pre-course training that I created for everybody who is a student in the conscious relationship. You're going to hear 3 different clips. The first is about what we really desire when we say we want a thriving romantic partnership. This is really helpful for you to hear because so many of us use this term, I want to thrive in love, or I want to experience true love, or my greatest love story. But we don't really know what creates that thriving partnership. Like, what are the desires beneath that core desire for a thriving romantic partnership? That's what you're going to be hearing about and learning about in today's episode and in the clip that I am first sharing. Then in the second clip, we're going to be focused on what are the obstacles to creating that thriving partnership? What are the obstacles to those desires that you'll be learning about in a moment, which make up a thriving relationship? As always, you know that I love to talk about this no matter what topic we're talking about. It's so important if you want to improve any aspect of your life that you understand what the problems are, what is getting in the way of what you want. When you know what the problems are, it reveals the solutions. So you'll be learning about what the 3 challenges, obstacles, blocks, whatever word you want to use, are to creating thriving partnership, to creating true love, and also practicing conscious relationship, as well as the desires that make up that thriving partnership. This will enable you to then know what you need to focus on in order to solve it. And that leads me to the third clip I'll be sharing, which is all about what the solutions are to those 3 problems. Once you know what the solutions are, it gives you the empowerment to really focus on implementing those solutions. And that is what we'll be doing in the conscious relationship. You'll be addressing all of those problems, you'll be implementing the solutions, and you'll be learning the skills that are needed in all romantic relationships to thrive. And you'll be learning in the best way you can, which is through practically implementing the skills. Because we learn a little from consuming information, but where we learn the most, where you'll actually set yourself up for long-term change and transformation, is through what you learn through implementing the skills. So the way the conscious relationship program has been set up is there are 6 weeks, and on week 1, you will know what you're doing on day 1, what you're doing on day 2, what you're doing on day 3, etc., etc. Now, you don't have practices to do every single day, but there are suggestions for specific days and exactly what to do throughout every week of the program. So it makes it just so much easier to follow, and then rather than needing to consume a lot of information, instead you're actually going to be guided through practices where you learn the concept and the skill through actually embodying it. And you learn it in a way so that you can do it with your partner if you're in a relationship right now, or if you're in a relationship and your partner doesn't want to do the process with you, you're able to implement it yourself and then bring that awareness to your relationship. And if you're not in a relationship right now, you implement it yourself and then you set yourself up to learn those skills so that when you are in romantic partnership in the future, you can then move yourself through this process with your partner, and you'll have the knowledge and your own personal experience of the process already, which sets you up to actually be more open to being in a romantic relationship, because now you know how you actually thrive in partnership, and it also gives you the skills and the process to actually implement as you're in the relationship itself. So they're the 3 clips you'll be learning about today, and without further ado, let's dive into those clips right now. The first one being all about what our desires really are when we say we want a thriving romantic partnership. The core desire in the middle of the conscious relationship model, as you'll see in the attached PDF, is the core desire to thrive in romantic partnership together. This means we want to create a relationship that allows you and your partner to both feel like you're thriving as individuals, as well as in a couple and in your relationship together. In order to achieve that, you'll see around the core desire, that centerpiece in the circle, you'll then see 3 additional desires. These 3 additional desires are what set you up to thrive as a couple together and as individuals. The first desire you'll see here is the desire to have a relationship that supports both of your individual purpose and potential. This is incredibly important because we're all here to live a life to grow and evolve as individuals. We want to be aligned with our purpose, we want to be ourselves, and we want to continue exploring what is possible within ourselves and our life. So you're going to have dreams and you'll have an individual path to follow. And many people see that path and their own purpose and potential as getting in the way of their partners, who of course also has their own path, their own purpose, their own potential, and their own dreams. What we want to do in order to create a sustainable relationship that actually allows you to thrive over the long term as you continue to grow and evolve is we want to make sure that the relationship is able to support both of your purpose and potential. And that's what you'll be learning how to do through the Conscious Relationship program and process. The second desire that supports our core desire to thrive in romantic partnership together is that we also want to make sure that our romantic connection and attraction to each other as a couple is nurtured as well as deepened throughout the relationship. Many couples face the opposite process where there is a lot of attraction in the beginning, a very strong romantic connection, and then over time, not only does that shape shift into a completely different form, but it also tends to lessen. So you want to make sure that in your relationship and in any process that you follow, that you learn a process and skills that actually nurture the connection and allow the connection to grow and deepen over time. And that's also what you'll be learning how to do through the conscious relationship process that you'll be learning in this program. The third desire that supports our core desire for a thriving romantic partnership is our desire to have a relationship that evolves with us over time. This is how you stop yourself from growing apart in a relationship. Many couples simply go their separate ways. They grow apart and then they believe that they need to be with someone else, that it's not the right relationship for them anymore. But every single person will grow and evolve, and your relationship together will grow and evolve too. So you need to have a relationship that is able to meet you at each season of your life together. That's how you create a long-term committed relationship that enables both you and your partner to thrive over the long term. And to achieve that, you simply need a process that will enable your relationship to continue growing and evolving and supporting both of you as you are in each season of your relationship and your life. And this is exactly what you'll be learning how to do in the Conscious Relationship process and program. And our second clip is all about the 3 obstacles that stand in the way of creating that thriving romantic partnership and the 3 desires you just learned about that enable you to create that. So now that we know what our core desire is and the 3 supporting desires that achieve that core desire, let's now talk about the obstacles that get in the way of this thriving partnership and those 3 supporting desires. The first obstacle is simply fear. We approach our relationship from an unconscious lens, which is based in fear rather than love. In order to create true love, which is what most people want and is what we're talking about when we talk about a thriving partnership, we have to learn to move from love, which is what creates love, and therefore ultimately that true love that everybody is searching for. When you move from love, it creates more love. When you move from fear, it creates more fear. Love is the opposite to fear, and love is what connects you, whereas fear is what separates and disconnects you. Now, we've all learned protective strategies and habits from when we were children and even from past lives, if you believe in that, that set us up to protect ourselves so that we can meet our needs and desires. We learn these when we're children, and then we continue to repeat them throughout the rest of our lives and as adults and well and truly into our romantic relationships. Often these are modeled from our caregivers and other significant relationships that we've observed in our life. And in other circumstances, they just don't make any sense because they were strategies we developed when we were children, when we didn't have the full awareness that we have available to us now as adults. So then we continue to repeat these patterns, and they actually lead to more disconnection and more evidence of this fear-based outlook that we have on our partners, on our relationship, and also on ourselves. And it's these fear-based protective patterns and strategies that ultimately block us from creating the thriving partnership we desire. Because in order to create that, we need to be leaning in, we need to be connecting, we need to be learning new skills, new habits, doing things differently to what was modeled to us. And the reason we want to do that is because if we follow the mainstream, which is what has been modeled to us, this is what leads us to ultimately following a process where we start off in love, but eventually we fall out of love. It's an inevitable process that leads to separation or settling and leads to growing apart in a relationship. We want to turn this around and actually show you a process to avoid falling out of love and instead create the true love and the thriving partnership you desire. And that's again what you'll be learning how to do in the Conscious Relationship program and process. The second obstacle is simply a lack of awareness. We as people generally show up in our relationships, especially the longer that we're in them, unaware, which means simply we're unconscious, we're not aware of the way we're behaving, that we're coming from these fear-based protective strategies, that we're not moving from love. And it's because we're in this place of relating with each other as a habit. And so it takes extra awareness, extra intention in order to bring yourself back to a place of presence and consciousness, which is what we're talking about when we talk about awareness. So those two obstacles combined, the habitual fear-based patterns and ways of relating that show up in our relationship, usually after the honeymoon period, plus the lack of awareness of these fear-based tendencies and patterns, and just simply a lack of awareness generally in our relationships, this creates the perfect recipe for those fear-based patterns to continue playing out for years and even decades in our relationship. And ultimately, they lead us through that 3-stage process that you'll be learning about in the Conscious Relationship program for falling out of love, which is what so many of you have found yourself in throughout either this relationship you're in right now or one from the past. Now, our third and final obstacle is a lack of intention. This is a really, really important one. Just like any other area of your life, when you show up intentionally, you have more power and control over what you're creating, over what you're giving your attention to. But typically in romantic relationships, the only intention we bring to our relationship is in the very beginning. We might have the most intention during our dating phase, and then as we commit to a romantic relationship, we decide that that person is right for us. And then our intention is to simply commit to the relationship. Maybe it's for a long time, maybe it's forever, maybe it's life partnership, maybe it's for a short time. Those intentions are hopefully made clear, but that's it. That's all the intention we give to our relationship. And maybe we have a vision for what we want to create together in our relationship. But that's generally where it ends. And the intention day to day and then at significant milestones in our relationship is completely absent. This means we go with the flow in our relationship. And it sets us up to follow those fear-based protective patterns, to remain unaware in our relationship, and to ultimately model that 3-stage process for falling out of love that most couples find themselves in. Instead, we want to learn how to be really intentional throughout our relationship, and not just in the beginning, but at all the significant milestones throughout our relationship, and as much as we can during the day-to-day of our relationship. Why? Because that gives you the power and control to lead and direct your relationship in the direction that you actually want it to go. So if you've been wanting more in your relationships, if you feel like you're settling in any way, compromising on things that are important to you, not having the relationship support your individual purpose and potential, then it's likely it's due to a lack of intention. Lastly, our final clip, which is all about our solutions to these 3 obstacles to creating the thriving romantic partnership we all desire. So now that we know what the 3 main obstacles are to creating thriving partnerships, let's talk about the solutions. So the solutions to these 3 obstacles are the following. Number 1, we need to learn to move from love in our romantic partnership. We want to learn how to move from love as well as create love. Secondly, we want to learn how to expand our awareness so that we're showing up from a place of presence and consciousness as much as possible within our relationship with our partner. This requires you to expand your capacity for awareness. It requires you to expand your self-awareness as well as your ability to be relationally aware of your partner and your relationship. And the third solution is that we bring intention to our relationship. As I mentioned earlier, this requires you to be clear about what it is you want to create and specifically what you're committing to. It looks like having agreements and guidelines for the way you show up in your relationship. It looks like having a shared vision for your relationship and also knowing how to evolve those intentions as you move throughout your life and your relationship journey together so that you don't grow apart and those intentions that you once set are still relevant as you continue to move forward. When we move from love, awareness, and intention, this is what enables us to practice a conscious relationship. When we're being conscious, we're moving from love. When we're being conscious, we are aware. And when we're being conscious, we are also moving from intention. So when you have love, awareness, and intention, this sets you up for a conscious relationship that enables you to create a relationship that allows both you and your partner to thrive, that allows you to nurture your romantic connection and attraction, that allows the relationship to evolve over time to meet you where you are at this season of your life and beyond. And it also sets you up to have the relationship support both your individual purpose and potential, which is what we need to thrive as a couple. So these 3 solutions are what I call a conscious relationship. And in order to practice a conscious relationship, so that this is not just something conceptual in the air, but rather something you can actually practice in real time and use in your relationship, we draw upon 6 core conscious relationship skills. Those 6 skills are as follows: conscious commitment, conscious communication, conscious connection, conscious collaboration, conscious conflict, and consciousness itself. So there you have it, my beautiful friends. They are the 3 clips from the pre-course training you do when you sign up for the Conscious Relationship program. These are available for you to dive in right now. And remember that enrollment closes for the Conscious Relationship on the 6th of September. You'll then have access to module 1, which is our week 1 in the program, next week on the 9th of September. You'll be learning 2 processes through the Conscious Relationship program to set you up to practice conscious relationship, to create true love and thrive in romantic partnership. You'll be guided to do this process with your partner or on your own if you're not in a relationship or if your partner does not wish to do the Conscious Relationship program with you. You do also get a bonus on how to invite your partner into doing the program with you, which is something I think that many people don't talk about, but so many couples face when you want to do the work, but your partner doesn't. So you'll also be supported with some suggestions for inviting them in to do the program with you. But please know you'll get so much value by doing this yourself if your partner won't agree to do the program with you. So the two processes that you'll learn and implement in the Conscious Relationship Program are as follows. Number one, a special opening process to start your conscious relationship with your partner and step into powerful conscious commitment with one another. The process we should have all done when we started our relationship and at every significant milestone of our relationship, like getting married, moving in together, having children, etc. You'll then learn a second process, which is what I call a monthly process, to follow in your relationship now and for the lifetime of your relationship, so that not only do you learn all of the skills that you just learned about during the program, but you also continue to deepen into and embody these skills beyond the program, setting your relationship up to thrive and evolve with you over the long term. Now, here are the skills that you will learn and practice in the Conscious Relationship Program. You're going to discover how to reveal what your core relational needs and desires are within your romantic partnership. You'll learn how to set powerful agreements for your relationship and come up with a shared vision that enables you and your partner to be on the same page, powerfully lead and evolve your relationship. You'll discover how to step into conscious commitment together as a couple so that you're powerfully collaborating as a team while deepening your romantic connection and attraction to one another. You'll learn how to create deeper connection, intimacy, and profound sexual experiences as a couple. You'll discover how to consciously communicate and embody radical honesty with one another and yourselves so that you both feel seen, heard, understood, respected, and deeply known in the relationship. You'll learn how to resolve and repair conflict and meet triggers in a healthy and secure way that nourishes your relationship and respects your nervous systems, minds, and bodies as a couple. And finally, you'll discover how to use the relationship as a space for healing, transformation, growth, and self-discovery, as well as a space for lighthearted play, adventure, and fun. And you'll be learning all of these skills through a simple to follow process and set of practices that you will implement into a current relationship or your next one. If you'd love to join us in the Conscious Relationship Program, I'd love to have you. You can sign up at letitiaringe.com/the conscious relationship. And remember that as a student, you'll have access to all future updates to the program and lifetime access so that you continue to be supported by this program right now, as well as all the way into the future of your romantic relationship. Remember that enrolment closes on September 6th. That enrolment won't be opening for another year. So make sure you go ahead and enroll now if this is something you know that you need. And I so look forward to working with you through this program. If you've got any questions whatsoever, don't hesitate to contact me on email at letitia@letitiaringe.com. All right, everybody, without further ado, I'm going to wrap up this episode here, and I look forward to meeting you in the Conscious Relationship Program and for everybody else in our next episode. Bye. Thank you for listening to Relate Higher, your go-to resource for learning how to consciously approach all of your relationships. To deepen your learning and practice, make sure you're subscribed to receive the Relate Higher community newsletter. This is a weekly newsletter sent to you every Monday, providing further coaching and education to support your relationships. Subscribe at relatehigher.com/community. And if you haven't yet left a 5-star review for the podcast, we ask that you please do that now so that this podcast can reach other listeners who also want to learn and practice conscious higher relating. Because remember, the more people who learn, the better relationships we all enjoy.